Today we're going to talk about Sun being like the planet that either rules your 10th house, is sitting in your 10th house, or has or sitting with the 10th lord, something like that, or it could be connected to the first house of your D10. I mean, there's a video, introduction video, that I'm going to actually put in the comments below. And so basically this is when you look and just see like what if this planet has got anything to do with your 6th or 10th house, how does that actually impact you. So there are actually 3, I would say, independent planets where these people do much better if they work for themselves or be leaders. They're just not very good at taking orders. And the very first independent planet will be the Sun, and it's also, not only is he the leader, but it's also exalted in the first house of the zodiac, which is all about me, Aries. And then the second planet that's also they do well, particularly if the Mars is strong in their chart and rules their 10th house, is also Mars, another independent planet. And it could also be said of Moon as well, even though Moon is this soft planet. However, it kind of likes to be loved and cherished by the crowd, by the masses. So again, there is this kind of independence that I do my thing for my audience. So the Sun being today's topic. So Sun rules aristocracy, royalty. So all of those people who are, like, if you like, the elite, they will be ruled by the Sun. These will be also politicians, government or military, or something to do with the local council departments. And depending on whether or not, what the influences are in terms of other planets, what's aspecting or sitting or conjuncting the Sun as well, that changes the flavor as well. The other thing is as well, Sun rules gold. Therefore, businesses to do with gold and jewelry, generally speaking, they can also be to do with the Sun. Anyway, so generally speaking though, these people, if you have got a really strong Sun in your chart, ruling your 10th house or sitting in your 10th house, because obviously it's got like directional strength there as well, these people will, even if they start working for somebody else, they will eventually work for themselves. They're just not very good at taking any orders from anybody else. They're just too independent. That can also be said if Sun is in your first house as well, to some degree, particularly if you're a Leo ascendant and you got Sun in your first house. So that can be said. Anyway, let's talk about like what's I actually, when I was looking around, I looked at lots of trying to get some examples of people who Sun either rules their 10th house or is sitting in their 10th house. And a lot of politicians or military people, those sort of, politicians, executives, things like that, they, or people who work for the government, generally speaking, if they don't have Sun in the 10th house, they do tend to have it in the 6th house. And I also noticed, I must have looked through, 25 different, I don't know the names of these people. I have no idea who they are. They're just on my software. And I did notice a lot of them, obviously 6th house being public service, governmental departments, that kind of thing. But a lot of them had also Sun in the 12th house. And I have to tell you, Sun in the 12th house is it's a really bad placement for the Sun, because even though Sun is debilitated in the 7th house, Sun in the 12th house is a secret kind of house. So that would not fill me with any kind of confidence in anybody who was in the government and also had the Sun, which is the planet that needs to be out, no shadows, in the 12th house. So it's yeah, it was quite interesting. Anyway, the other thing is as well, according to, say, Gemini, Sun also rules singing, not acting, not performing, singing as well. So it's very interesting too to watch that. And obviously, depending on the Sun and where it sits in the chart, it's you want to see any kind of, because if the Sun is pure Sun and it has not any afflictions at all, it will be somebody, in fact, if it has got no afflictions and also with has aspect of a benefic planet, then it is a Sun that's willing to give, because Sun is sacrificial, likes to give, you know. And but if it's got malefic influence, it's particularly from Rahu or Ketu as well, or even Saturn, you know, you want to kind of have a look and just see what, you know, really study their chart, because a lot of it is not being really exposed, if you like. So I'm just going to start sharing. I'm going to just put I've got 3 different types of examples that I came across. So I thought we'd just start looking at these. I'm going to start with a chap called, I hope I can say this, Daniel Inouye, and he is basically, he was the very first US senator of color. So he's Asian American. He was the first senator of Hawaii between 1963 and 2012 for the Democratic Party. So he was quite a revolutionary guy in that sense. And you can see that he is Scorpio ascendant, and he has the Sun. Sun rules his 10th house anyway, but it's also is in the 10th house, really strong, with a retrograde Mercury. Mercury is quite combust because it's also retrograding as well. So you can see that this guy is highly intelligent, and yeah, so you have Sun in the 10th house. Has got directional strength, very strong in Leo, so it's a governmental position, and he's also got aspect of Mars as well, which is the 1st house lord and 6th house lord, aspect in the 10th house as well. So he is, you can see that is to do with the politics, and also Jupiter too. Jupiter, just by sheer fact that is sitting in the 1st house as well, with Jyeshta as well, so involved in a lot of secretive things. And also Mercury is his eighth lord as well, sitting with the Sun. So a lot of secrets going on there, a lot of things we don't really know. So here we are. So this is the very first person, but obviously he was the highest ranking Asian American in politics in the US. So he's very revolutionary. So that's pretty amazing. And now let's look at John Glenn. John Glenn is a marine aviator, engineer, NASA astronaut, and also became a politician a bit later. He's the 3rd American who actually went to space and 1st American to orbit the Earth. Highly ambitious. I mean, look at that. He's Libra ascendant, and he has the Sun in the 10th house in Purnavasu, which means like doing things more than once. But yeah, so you can see that he has a very, very strong 10th house. You know, because also the thing is, being in Cancer as well. Cancer is it's like the moon really, so the masses. So he has great appeal, and he's, you know, being an astronaut, he's got Rahu in his 12th house of space. Rahu ruling space and aviation anyway. And you can also see that he's got 3rd house moon, which is the dispositor of the Sun. So he was probably very good at tapping into people's emotions with his speech. Yeah, so that's this other one. And now we go to Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan hasn't, Sun rules his 10th house, but the Sun is not actually in his 10th house, it's in his 7th house. With Venus and Jupiter, so we have like 2 benefic planets either side of the Sun, and and he connected to the public really well. He's second lord of speech, fifth lord of creativity. You know, it's like the arts really. Jupiter sitting with the Sun, 10th Lord, and Venus, which will be his 7th and 12th Lord. So he had a great appeal, not just in America, but around the world as well, for his wordings and the way his lyrics were very meaningful. Yeah, so you can just see that he 10th is, you know, is actually aspecting his first house as well. So he's just created his own art form, if you like. So that's it from me regarding the Sun. Obviously, it's a very makes one have a really strong, authoritative, independent, self-employed career. If you have got a very strong Sun, particularly if it's in the 10th house and it's in a friendly sign. Sun does really well, obviously, in Leo and Aries. It's also very good in Scorpio or in Sagittarius. I would probably say, even though it's friendly with Jupiter, it's a little bit too dreamy in Pisces, but does pretty well also in Mercury signs too, because it's also planet of intelligence and Mercury planet of intellect. So when they're together as well, they create really good yogas together. So that's always worthwhile keeping that in mind. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.